question. You guys got questions?
There's frantic comebacks in bit, especially in SEC play. How do you, when you were starting the season, you were blowing teams out quickly, putting your foot down.
Yeah.
How do you get back to doing that and not putting yourself in 10 to 15 points?
Yeah, I guess one of the concerns would be when you start games, you're putting your best foot forward. You've gone through a pretty extensive scout. You're running the plays you think got a chance to work. You're defending their stuff the way you think you need to defend it to have it work. And typically, even in past years when we may not have been as good, we'd be okay early. And then it was the second half that adjustments were made, and then we struggled. I think it speaks a lot of just our kids' will to win. We made some changes in our defense. We came out with a couple of looks offensively, but I can't explain it more than just saying that these guys have got a resiliency and a toughness and a confidence, and because inside baskets were hard to come by, and we were trying to get made in foul trouble, and we weren't able to. Instead, Mustafa got in foul trouble. So bottom line is we got to start playing better early, because we're not going to continue to be able to come back and win, those games. I look at this game at Missouri. They've lost once at home to Florida at the buzzer. They played a very tough schedule. They're really good. They're big. They're deep. They're picked really high in our league. They're one of the better ball screen teams that I've seen, and they shoot the three really well. And our three-point field goal percentage defense is not very good. I think that has to do with some of our size. Teams that shoot open threes tend to make them. When they get contested threes, either because of length or things like that, they tend to miss them. So, but it's a huge opportunity for us. I think it's one of those games that, like, if we're going to remain in the hunt for the conference title, look, Florida's already beaten them there. Florida's already beaten Kentucky at Kentucky. Tennessee's got some big road wins. It's one that very few people are going to get.
Because in years past, especially last year, the younger team, it was always, we're on the opposite side of the floor in the first half. Things are hard for them to communicate. But now with everybody returning everything, and this year starting out better than that, has there been some, you guys are predictable early in games right now for the opponents, especially league opponents, are seeing more?
I definitely think that scouting is a factor in the league. One of the things I'd said to the team is, again, going up against Georgia. Georgia's really good defensively. We're going to struggle offensively. Don't let our offensive struggles affect you defensively, because it's going to be harder to score, and it's a slower-paced game. And some of our guys are probably known more for their offense than their defense, and if they're not shooting well or scoring, sometimes it affects them at the defensive end. We can't let that happen. My biggest thing about, again, I went in at halftime of the Georgia game, and I was just really pleased with the tone. Typically, there'd be panic, and I don't mind when guys hold themselves accountable. I like that, but a lot of times guys will be hollering at each other a little bit, and if you've never been in a locker room in that situation, you wouldn't quite understand it. But there wasn't a lot of that. It was discussion, but most of it was being accountable. Scouting is definitely a factor, but what it is, all right, now we're going to sit in Bryce Brown's pocket, take him away. All right, we're going to we know what Mustafa likes to do, and we're going to make him do something else. All right, we've got Deshaun Murray figured out in the pinch post, and so then the question is, do you have something else to go to? What if they take that away, what can you go to? Or me as a play caller, if they take that away, what can I go to?
How about Malik Dunbar? What kind of factor can he be for you moving forward?
Well, a guy like Malik or Chuma or Horace, I'd just take O'Davion. Any of the four guys coming off the bench, there wouldn't be quite as big a book on them. And so therefore, because I think when we go to the bench, we don't drop off that much. I think there's a chance for our bench as we go on, if we can continue to stay successful and win some of these games. I think it's guys like that have an opportunity to really step up, because we know we've seen it from Malik. And so I'd take a look again. I go back to Georgia. He played 20 minutes because Mustafa was in foul trouble. And he did fine. He could have done better. He could have done better offensively and defensively to help us win easier. But the good thing is he's capable. I thought Shuma played really well against Georgia when we got into when Deshaun was in some foul trouble and against Mayton. I thought he played really well. I thought Davion Mitchell to play against Georgia and not have maybe one turnover, had 3 assists, no turnovers at halftime. I thought he played really well. So I think the bench all are in position to be able to do more as our season progresses.
Maybe more than any team you play in the league this year, is tempo going to be a key Wednesday night? It doesn't seem like every team Kwanzaa plays for, analytically, they're really high in tempo.
Yeah. I don't know that. I think against Missouri, it'll be more physical play and our ability to guard the ball screen. Then I think it would be an issue of tempo. The Alabama, Georgia would be games where tempo would be a huge factor because they both play at a slower pace.
Any residual feelings from the team from last year? Because this is the first time in Missouri. I know there are different coaching staffs.
Well, I think the players, amongst the players, we played them 3 times last year and lost in the last, and that's the last game we remember during the course of the offseason, and certainly we had that game won. And we would have faced Ole Miss in the next game, and that might have been enough to get us to the NIT, 2 wins. So, I mean, I certainly, it's filed away with me. So, I'm sure the players will have that. I mean, look, again, this is a tough place to play. The building will be, be full, and it'll be probably. After Tennessee, the next best environment we've played in all year. Next toughest environment.
Can you use Austin in these next couple of days and scout team to kind of replicate Tillman as best
Yep.
you can?
Austin will be Tillman, and D'Angelo will probably be Porter. First, we're going to take a couple more.
A lot of talk about Bryce not being highly recruited. When you look back at that, why was he not highly recruited?
Well, he didn't play. Real simple answers. Bryce did not play on the biggest AAU team. Played on a smaller team, and that's oftentimes the way it goes. And even though he played at good schools, Tucker, at the time, he wasn't. There weren't a lot of other guys on his team. Like Pebblebrook's got 3 or 4, Westlake's got 3 or 4, McKeitry's got 3 or 4. There wasn't a ton on his team. So, and the story's been told. It was, Bryce came to our team camp, and we were. It was in August, and it was the year of my show cause. That's how far back it was. My first year, and my coaches liked Bryce, but they didn't love him. But they did like him, and so I knew I had to look at him. And we hadn't offered him. And then, of course, in August, I got a chance to lay eyes on him, and I really liked him. I liked him a lot. But we had already offered the young man that's at Cincinnati right now, who's one of their best players, kid from Louisiana. Anybody fall close enough to remember him? He's a terrific player, terrific kid. And when I remember I'd said to Bryce's family, I said, listen, I've got an offer out there at your position. I had not seen you. My coaching staff literally liked you. Could you hang in there for a little while and let's just see how this other thing plays out? I don't want to take the offer off the table, not because I necessarily think that young man's better than you, but because I'm a man of my word and I've offered him and I'm not going to pull it. And as it turned out, a few weeks later, sometime in September, he chose Cincinnati over Auburn. And of course, we immediately contacted Bryce and said, it's yours if you want it. At that point, he had verbally committed, I think, to Charlotte. And we weren't going to recruit him based on a verbal commitment, but we wanted to make sure at least he knew that the scholarship was available. And he opened up his recruitment. We recruited him. We got him, and I'm really glad we did. And he's just steadily improved and is a very important player for us. Yeah, you just take them one at a time, and you keep grinding, and you keep developing game plans. And I think it's important that you balance off the big picture with the whole one game at a time attitude. If we were to go on a run and lose some games, people would ask what's wrong, and my answer would be probably pretty simple. It has more to do with them than us. Competition is good enough to beat us any night, and We weren't able to get it done. At the same time, I do want them to understand seeding. I want them to understand the difference between making the tournament and making the tournament with a good seed. Look, we haven't even made the tournament yet. We got a long ways to go to make the tournament. But if I don't talk to them about how you make the tournament, how you advance, I'm doing them a disservice. So there'll be no problem of this team being overconfident. You know, we're not on ESPN this year. We're not on ESPN this year.